Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 22 female, am dealing with a lot of tension with my family right now about the money my aunt plans on leaving me after she dies. About a month ago, my aunt and I were in a three-way video chat with her lawyer. Because of the virus, my aunt wants to make sure her affairs are in order in case something happens. During the chat, it was explained to me that aside from a few charitable organizations and some sentimental items to close friends, my aunt is making me the sole beneficiary of her estate. I knew my aunt had money, but I was still surprised at how much I would be getting in terms of a savings, life insurance, investments, properties, etc. I told her that that wasn't necessary because she's already done enough and has spoiled me all my life. But she insisted that she wanted to give her niece everything. After the call was over, I left my room. I found my mom, stepdad, sister, and brother sitting in the kitchen with serious faces. I thought something was wrong and asked if everything was okay. My sister revealed that she overheard the video chat call and said that it wasn't fair that I have a rich aunt who gives me everything, while she and my brother get nothing. While I was upset about my sister eavesdropping, I tried not to add more fire to the flame and explained that if it meant that much to them, I'll talk to my aunt. My mom was against it because she was worried that my aunt would do something to prevent my siblings from getting anything. My stepdad said that instead, I should sign a secret contract ensuring that my siblings get equal shares of whatever my aunt leaves me to make things fair. I'm very close to my aunt and don't like doing something like this behind her back, but I would instead give them a portion of what I get in the future. My sister was furious, saying that it wasn't fair because I could always change my mind, and then went on a rant about how it's not fair that I have a rich aunt who gives me whatever I want, and they don't, and that as my siblings, they're owed just as much. I won't deny that because of my aunt I got much nicer things and better opportunities than my siblings, but that wasn't my fault, and told my sister that they weren't entitled to my aunt's money because she wasn't related to them. I told them I'll ask my aunt to leave something for them, and will even offer to give them a portion of what I get, but I am not signing any official documents. My sister's upset. My mom is silently disappointed. My stepdad is urging me to reconsider, and my brother seems indifferent. I've thought about it for a while, and I still don't think I've done anything wrong, but now I'm starting to have doubts. Am I the a-hole? Absolutely not the a-hole. I'm going to assume that your aunt knows that you have step-siblings. If she wanted to leave them anything, she would do that. Tell your family that your aunt's will is none of their business, and if they have an issue with her decision, they need to talk to her directly. Do not let them push you around. You do not owe your step-siblings anything. Not the a-hole. You don't need to give in to their pressure. It's true that it might not be fair, but it's her money, your aunt, and if your sister is going to be ugly about it, greedy and unappreciative, and your brother didn't really care or feel there was any hope of changing it, then there's no need to go through with helping them anyway. Please don't give them any money. If they are already acting like this at the mention of you getting this much money, I'd hate to see how they act once they get a taste of it. Maybe even talk to your aunt and see if she can either have you live with her or help you get a place if your family continues to pressure you. You don't owe anyone anything just because you got a few nice things when you were younger. Your aunt is choosing to do this for you and her wishes deserve to be respected. Maybe after you get the money and your family calms down, if you really want to do something for your siblings, you can set up a small college fund for them or maybe take your family on a vacation. But it's up to you. Don't feel like you owe anyone anything just because you're family. Edit 1. Let me clarify. My siblings and I have the same mother but different fathers. My stepdad is their father and my aunt was my father's twin sister. He died when I was a baby in a car accident, and my aunt had a really hard time with it. So much that she held a grudge against my mom when she had a child with another man, and later married him. I'd like to think she's finally come to terms with it by the time my brother was born, but I'm not sure I'll ever know for sure. Edit 3. Yeah, don't worry everyone. While I'm on the fence about sharing some of what I get, I would definitely not sign anything before a lawyer that I hired went over it. Edit 4. Just some more information that I think will help paint the picture a little better. 1. My aunt is currently in really good health and not on her deathbed, but she does have a compromised immune system, and since we don't know how long the virus is gonna last, my aunt is just covering her bases while she's of sound mind. 2. If my aunt passes away before I'm 30, everything that I would inherit would go into a trust, and I would just get a monthly allowance until then. The only way I could access more is if there was a medical need. 3. When my paternal grandparents died, they left my aunt and me money, but since I was a toddler at the time, my mom got full control over it. My aunt didn't like it and tried to convince my mom to put at least half of it in a trust for me, but my mom got really offended and refused to speak to my aunt or even let her see me until after she blew through all of the money and needed help. My aunt is a smart woman and made lucrative investments, had a nice job, and married very well. She was more than able to help my mom and stepfather out there near bankruptcy for my sake. She even offered to pay for my college so that they only had to worry about my sister and brother. My aunt even gave my mom and stepdad a large amount of money for a house, so they'd have a smaller mortgage, but only under the condition that she would never be denied access to me, that she could take me on trips when I got older, and that if something happened to my mother, she would get custody. They agreed to all of this, and that's why my aunt was allowed to spoil me in any way that she saw fit. I think now my parents are starting to see the consequences of that agreement and want me to share my money out of guilt. Update. In the end, I decided to tell my aunt, and she was not happy. She told me that she would contact her lawyer again and would make the necessary steps to ensure no one, not even a potential spouse, could get the money. After the initial blow-up, my sister hasn't made any more direct outbursts, but she has been insufferably passive-aggressive. Examples: changing the Netflix password and asking me why I should get access to a streaming service I don't pay for. It's technically theft. Asking our mom for money to buy chips since the pantry is full of chips that I paid for, and she knows I don't like to share. Eventually, I got so frustrated and reminded her that I don't have a cent of my inheritance yet, and probably, hopefully, won't get it for at least another 30+ years. We haven't spoken to each other since. My mom and stepdad are trying their best to get us to make peace, but it's not working. My brother was pretty silent on the matter, so I asked him in private how he felt. He told me that he was in his room playing video games when he was told we needed to have a family meeting. He thought my aunt was dead and that they were going to break the news to me. He had no idea what was going down until it actually did, and felt just so awkward about it and wanted to pretend that it didn't happen. I asked him if he was upset, and he said he always knew what the deal was. My stepdad later confirmed this when he tried to get me to agree to sign a document that would at the very least give my sister and brother something. He also stated that the reason he and my mom were pushing this was because they felt guilty about not being able to give my siblings nicer things. Whenever they tried to get my aunt to stop spoiling me so much in front of them, she would just bring up the fact that she's the reason they even have a comfortable life right now and stole my first inheritance from me. I guess I was a little too wrapped up in my own world to realize just how sad my brother and sister were, that even though we grew up in the same house, I got a better life. I felt bad, but again, I don't see how it was my fault. I thought about it for a while and told my parents that they should draw up their own will that gives my siblings the house and just leave me a few items and photos. I promised that I wouldn't contest it. I also think it will be a good idea to get some distance for a while, and we'll be moving out. My mom was not happy about that, but to be honest, if it weren't for the virus, I would be living on my own already. My 38 female parents got divorced about 14 years ago after my father had been having an affair with his current wife Brenda for 5 years. Not only this, but he was absolutely horrible to my mom in the process and really screwed her over. I was angry with him and went no contact with him for 4 years after. My grandfather on my dad's side, before he passed away, told me to try and make amends with my father. As I loved him very much, I agreed to try. I slowly tried to build a relationship back with him, and things have been okay, but strained, because trusting him has been hard. I also don't like Brenda. I did try, but we have nothing in common. She's a very gossipy person who talks trash about so many people, and I'm more interested in world events and science and psychology. I lived nearby until about 3 years ago and made an effort to see them once a month. I have now moved a 4-hour drive away and can only get up once or twice a year to visit. On one visit a couple years back, Brenda started talking about my half-sister, saying if she had raised her, she wouldn't have had all the problems she did, and that my mom was wrong in how she managed her mental illness. Without going into as much detail, my sister has bipolar disorder and was very hard to manage in her childhood, and after years of trying to get her help and her running away, my mom agreed to let her go live with other family as she asked. It was either that or she was going to live in a group home most likely. I snapped at Brenda, saying she wasn't there and she has no idea what she was talking about. I was little, but I remember all the pain my family was going through and how hard it was for my mom to let her go. Since then, every time we have gone out together, Brenda refused to talk to me. She won't respond if I say hello. She stares at her phone and talks to my dad as if I'm not there. I asked him to say something about it because it's rude and uncomfortable, and he just says he can't tell her what to do and we need to work it out. I told him if that's the case, I will only visit with him and not if she's around. He says I'm being dramatic, and if Brenda isn't invited, he won't come either. I told him if he won't leave her behind, then he won't be seeing me anymore either. I love him, but I'm not going to let her disrespect me anymore. He's making me feel like I'm being an a-hole because I want to see him, but I don't want to let her treat me this way. Oh my God. So Brenda behaves in a horrible way towards you, but your dad can't be bothered to do the right thing and see you without her? You don't need that level of BS in your life. You are not the a-hole. Your dad and Brenda are massive ones, though. So, Brenda is going to ignore you, and your father is going to bury his head in the sand and pretend that it isn't a problem. Sounds like that despite giving it your best shot to honor your grandfather's wishes. It's just not going to happen. Not the a-hole. Perhaps you can reconnect with your father when he actually gives a damn about you. You are not the a-hole. I'm not sure how he can think that his wife is not being dramatic when she acts deaf and blind to your presence. I also cannot understand why he would not have reprimanded her like a gossipy teenager when she badmouthed your own mother in front of you. I am sad to hear that you will not be having a relationship with your father anymore. But until he starts looking at this issue from all sides, it's probably not healthy to be around such a miserable, passive-aggressive, negative person who lacks total empathy, sympathy, common decency, and any sense of what is socially acceptable in the modern world. Your father is being the a-hole here. Not you, OP. Unfortunately, sounds like he doesn't care that much in keeping contact with you. You did your part, you tried, and keep trying. But that doesn't mean you have to accept this kind of behavior from either of them. It's sad, but maybe you're better remaining no contact. Not the a-hole. My parents had me at a young age. I'm now almost 29, and my parents are both in their mid-late 40s. Growing up, I saw my granddad, my dad's dad, a lot. But now me and my siblings don't exist to him, and he hasn't spoken to my dad in years. He doesn't even know he is a great-granddad. My granddad remarried and pays more attention to the kids from that relationship and their kids. My parents split when I was 12. It was hard, but we got through it, and up until recently, I had a great relationship with my dad. The last time I saw my dad was 2 days before my daughter's birthday back in March. He made the surprise trip with my half-siblings and his girlfriend. Now, I don't expect him to drop everything because I live 2 hours away, but I was visiting my hometown for 2 weeks in August, whilst dog-sitting for my mom. But he was always too busy with my half-siblings to even visit for half an hour. He doesn't even text or call, and he doesn't reply if I do, so I gave up. I think what pushed me over the edge is that they can travel 4 to 6 hours to another country for a day out, almost every other weekend, but won't travel 2 to see his granddaughter? So I snapped and told him this is how it started with his dad. He was around for his grandchildren, then just stopped and focused on his second family, and for someone who said he wouldn't be like his dad, he sure is acting like him. My dad's girlfriend piped up and said I got my dad when I was younger, and why can't my half-siblings get him now? I told her it's not about me, it's about my daughter knowing her granddad, as he is the only person she doesn't know. At that point, she called me an a-hole for trying to ruin my half-siblings' childhood. Just to add, my dad lives with his girlfriend and half-siblings, so it's not like he only gets to see them every other weekend or every weekend. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. What really gets me is his girlfriend's comment that you had him when you were young, as if growing up means he is no longer your father and you aren't meant to want time with him. I find that extremely entitled of her, because she really is prioritizing her children. No doubt he has a responsibility to them too, to provide for them, etc. But your ages doesn't make you any less his child. She is selfish and entitled, totally. Not the a-hole. Your dad is exactly like his father, but probably he don't want to see the similarities. He don't have the time to come at least once a month, and it's something between you and your dad. His girlfriend has nothing to say over this. They have him all the time. Under this circumstances, I think it's better for your daughter to not know him at all. He just comes crawling back when he needs something, believe me. Not the a-hole. Go no contact. It hurts, but don't try to hold on to your father, who sounds like he would rather that you don't exist. And don't bring your daughter to get her hopes up over seeing her grandfather if he has no interest in it. Sounds like the girlfriend is also going to go out of her way to be sure he's always busy and makes his life difficult if he tries to stay in touch. That comment she made about you having him for your childhood, and now it was her kid's turn. She's definitely not wanting anyone to outshine her family. I live with my brother, 36 male, and his wife, sister-in-law. There is 2 kids part-time, from previous marriage, and 2 kids living with. One of those kids is 13 months, and my son is 8 months now. My significant other, 22 female, is a stay-at-home mom and does all the housework that's our share. She wanted and likes to do that work, but I still do some here and there if she gets overwhelmed, or to remind her she doesn't need to do it all the time. So, for some reason, sister-in-law has had it out for significant other and has been giving her a hard time. She would get on her butt for not cleaning a dish immediately after using it, or pot not being washed. It was washed 3 times, and it still wasn't good enough. She stopped inviting significant other to the family dinners with all my brothers and their families. She would invite significant other to leftovers instead of dinner every night. We ended up working through this, but things picked up again recently with sister-in-law taking stabs at significant other about the kids. Sister-in-law claims on various things that significant other is copying on her everything. For example, significant other got a weighted straw cup for our son because she saw her son have one. She said the same basic thing about toys and clothes and food choices, which was ridiculous because most of those things significant other purchased before our son was even born. Anyway, so a couple days ago, sister-in-law got a new car seat for her son, and it was delivered. She set it up in the living room and then installed it in the car. We already had the same car seat in our car because our son already maxed out the old one. He is the size of a 1-year-old. Well, so significant other was leaving to take our son to the park for a walk. Sister-in-law saw our car seat, and I guess she lost it. She berated significant other for copying, and she was sick of it, and that she needed to get her own parenting style instead of taking hers. That she shares enough with significant other, like the house, and she doesn't want to share parenting styles too. I heard the commotion since I was working on my car and came over and said, "Hold up, everything isn't always about you. Significant other bought all this stuff before you did, and I'm the one that put it in the car last week. You're not the only one with a kid in the world, and you don't own rights to all these things anyway." Which she left crying because I did yell. I was fed up with the BS, and I admit, I didn't have to yell like I did. Anyway, a few hours later my brother texts me and says I was being an a-hole and that sister-in-law sacrifices a lot for us and demands I apologize and take back my accusations against her. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole for blowing up, but you need to move out. Your living situation is not functional, and raising kids in a hostile household is not good. You need to have your girlfriend get a job so that you can move out. Everyone sucks here, except your wife, I think. Sounds like everyone is just getting fed up with a crowded and difficult living situation. Probably won't change until you guys move out or separate or whatever. You're the a-hole. Move out. You're living with your brother and his wife, and you have children, plus a live-in partner who's in the home all day. Your partner and your sister-in-law don't get along, and there are kids on both sides living there. Wow. Sister-in-law is losing it, and you yelled at her. This isn't working.